In the year 2020, I started a podcast about movies. Some episodes occasionally focused on other media as well. As I dealt with threatening interdimensional beings, I eventually met my other self from another universe where all the stuff I talked about got delayed. As it turns out, the stories as me and my guests described them were presented very differently in that other universe. So I continued podcasting these recaps, which apparently sound like improvised reviews, to entertain listeners of that other universe while they waited for the new release dates. Some episodes even focused on content of years past that did not come out in that other universe for whatever reason. The year is 2022. The podcast is now bi-weekly, unless stated otherwise. My name is Steven Shinder, and you're listening to Delayed Replay. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we usually talk about movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out in time in our universe. But once again, we're talking about a video game that came out on time in our universe. It's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, of course, in case you're new to the show, just want to clarify, just because you never know, we're talking about not the game as it comes out in 2023 in that other universe. We're talking about the version that came out in this other universe that we saw. So it might be different, might be somewhat similar. Just to be clear, it's two different things. But first, introductions are in order. Joining me to talk about this fantastic game, it is Marco. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, Steven? I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. Just I've got like some upcoming stuff, like life-related stuff I've been preparing for. So it's been kind of interesting trying to like get all these other things done beforehand. Yeah, we're excited to talk about this game with you. But first, I guess to sort of add context, people who've listened to the show have heard like my experience with DC stuff in other episodes, like even the previous one, I think. So what are your general experiences with like DC and DC games even?
I think I would say I would hover around DC. Like I know quite a bit of DC, but I'm not like super knowledgeable on the whole universe. But just because Batman is so big, or like Superman, I remember watching the cartoons a bit as a kid. I've read a couple comics from some characters that I'm super interested in, like the Killing Joke from the Batman series. I'll play a lot of the games. I'm actually a huge fan of the Arkham City and Arkham Asylum games, so I was super excited for this Suicide Squad game because it's by the same developers, and I just couldn't wait to get my hands on this one.
Yeah, this one takes place a few months after Arkham Knight. And so on my end, I've played all of Arkham Asylum, some of Arkham City, and then I got really busy with other things and it wasn't like as um it wasn't as quick for me to just pick it up again because I have it on PC rather than like another console. I have access to Origins and already kind of know like the big things that happen. They kind of got spoiled for me. Um, I felt like somewhat prepared for this game, but as for Suicide Squad related stories, I'd seen both movies. I think I prefer the James Gunn one, even though the David Ayer one, I feel like it does the father daughter storyline a bit better, but it's still like I had fun with the James Gunn one, but I'm not like as like oh my gosh, super amazing as like other people are with it. But stylistically, it looked very great, and it had some nice surprises. And I also like the animated movies, Batman: Assault on Arkham, which is set in this Arkham verse, and Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay, which is in the DCAMU, as they call it. Have you seen like any of these Suicide Squad movies before?
I've seen the original Suicide Squad movie, the David Ayer one. I did not get a chance to see the James Gunn one, and I haven't seen any of the animated movies from the Suicide Squad series, but uh, I have seen clips of the Harley Quinn show, and
Oh
I know,
yeah, that show is amazing. It's one of the best.
yeah, it's YouTube just started recommending them to me, and I just started watching all the clips, and I know Harley Quinn and King Shark are in that show, so I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of Suicide Squad-y.
Yeah, they even like throw in Suicide Squad jackets at some point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and yeah, I think between the animated movies, I prefer Hell to Pay. That does require like at least like some knowledge of some of the other like Justice League movies that take place before that one. Like there's a payoff in that, like no pun intended, that's really great if you're like already familiar with what came before.
Hmm.
But yeah, this game, it's just I'd been looking forward to this game for a while. A Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. How accessible do you feel it is to newcomers, like just going in?
I think it's pretty great for newcomers. Generally, with the Arkham Asylum games, I was really super invested in those games because it didn't take a lot to learn, since a lot of the combos can just be made by like pressing one or two buttons. And then it gradually gives you different combos as the game goes on, where like you'll start adding a couple more different of the button combinations. So they've never felt super awkward or clunky to try to pull off. Not like a fighting game where like you have such strict timing where you're like, damn it, I can't get this. Um, I'm not good at Street Fighter, but with the
Yeah, me
Suicide
neither.
Squad game, it's pretty easy to pick up and play. So I don't think it's gonna be that hard for newcomers to come and jump in and play this game. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, with fighting games, I pretty much just button mash, and I'm not that great at those. But yeah, with this one, it took me a little bit, but the tutorial at the start, I thought it was very helpful, and so I was able to like get in the groove of playing as these characters. And story-wise, I think they do a good job of setting up like what's going on. There are like little allusions to stuff that happened in the Arkham series. It's not it doesn't feel too spoilery, but it's like if people have played those games and they know like, oh, that's what this means type of thing.
Hmm.
Like on news broadcasts and stuff. But yeah, they set up what the team is and how Amanda Waller has got Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, King Shark, and Deadshot. And she says you need to get the target. And being as cryptic as she is, she doesn't tell them right away what the target is. And like she sends them to Metropolis. Like, what'd you think of this first mission where they like find out what they're actually there for?
I thought it was pretty exciting since the first mission was also kind of the tutorial mission. They really switched a lot with the four characters, but I have to say that it's pretty awesome getting to play all the four characters because they actually did a really good job with really diversifying how each character plays. Of course, like King Shark is going to be this big bruiser, so you're just like beating the crap out of all of these monsters in the game in Metropolis. And then when you switch to like Deadshot or Harley Quinn, like Deadshot is much more of like that like fast gunplay type character. So it felt like a little closer to maybe like Call of Duty or like the Battlefield series, which was pretty cool. It was still very action heavy, but the first mission was pretty dope. I think we all know what's gonna happen because we saw in the trailers that basically Metropolis was taken over and that the we're gonna have to kill the Justice League. It's in the name of the game. But you go through all of the Metropolis storyline just to find out like Superman comes in and like he's like, "What's up, guys? I'm about to y'all up," and you're like, "Oh shit, that's what we're going for." And it's like, but as the players, we know because we saw the trailers, and it's
Yeah.
it's the name of the game, like I said.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this idea of like them going up against the Justice League is that for the James Gunn movie, one of the things that was considered was like instead of having Starros as the main villain, like one idea that was kicked around was having the Suicide Squad go against like Superman turned evil somehow.
Hmm.
But they decided not to do that, and I kind of wonder if maybe either this game was inspired by that idea that was being kicked around, like they heard that the films decide not to do it, or if maybe the film decided not to do it because they heard the game was thinking of doing it. Because with some DC projects, they try not to do the same thing at the same time or around the same time. So I kind of wonder like which way the process went. But in any case, I do like that they went with this here, even though for me personally, I'm not really into Superman turning evil type of storylines. Like I feel like they're kind of played out. They get really grim and serious and just very un-Superman like. But for this game, it just because the game is so fun and it's just like all bright and it pops, it just feels I'm more it's more easy for me to get into it, and it's just yeah, like they're basically like, oh no, like they're full of a lot of fear because they're going up against Superman and other Justice League members now.
Hmm.
Yeah, like Brainiac's ship is there and it looks so well animated, like he's somehow brain controlled the heroes. Like what'd you think of the animation for all this?
I thought they were pretty good. The all the heroes, especially like all the ways that you could just beat the crap out of the enemies in the game, like just the explosion effects everywhere when I'm playing like Deadshot or like just smacking people with like Captain Boomerang. They put a lot of work into the animation and I appreciate that, especially seeing how games have been made recently. Like that, oh, that stuff is hard work. And there were like a few glitches in my game here and there, but it was very few and far between. So like I did feel super invested and like felt like a part of the world playing the game. Like you know how like a game is able to suck you in.
Yeah.
This game was very successful at that. I can say that.
Yeah, and since it's rated M for mature, you're able to get like a bit bloodier with it. Like even
Oh
though
yeah.
yeah, like even though Harley Quinn is my favorite character on the team, like just because I really enjoy her character across various DC media. My favorite character to play as is King Shark because of like all the like brute strength he's able to utilize and just
L-
like tearing like the enemies
Oh
apart. It's
yeah.
just
You know how they have like finishers too? One of my favorite ones was just grabbing someone with King Shark and just chopping their head off. It's
yeah.
pretty great.
Yeah, this King Shark is the son of the one who was in Batman Assault on Arkham, that animated movie. So
Mm,
there's like a little reference to that. But also, I don't know if you've ever seen this animated series from the 90s called Street Sharks, but I remember having the toys for that. Like me and my brother had the toys. It's like these shark people who like use roller skates or rollerblades or whatever,
uh-huh.
and I feel like intentionally or not, they add like a little reference to that by having King Shark be on like rollerblades here, and Harley's having to like tutor him on how to like do it very well, and it was just like a really fun scene.
Yeah. It was fun little like tutorial little mission. I think they just kind of did it as a joke because it was like in the middle of the game once you got the tutorial, but like um yeah, that one was super fun. I actually never seen Street Sharks, but I know what you're talking about because I've seen pictures of them so much.
Yeah, like 90s animated shows were such a weird time.
It was like 80s and 90s because it was just like if someone was successful, everyone else like is like, okay, how do we do that? Like,
Yeah, like I don't remember if I ever watched this show, but Street Sharks looks to me like they were trying to capture that Ninja Turtles
oh
like
yeah.
that hype somehow.
I think there's like a ton of those like Ninja Turtles, like Samurai Pizza Cats. Like they were like, all right, animal thing, put it together, that's our show.
Animal Pizza Cats. Wow,
Yeah.
that's yeah. And the team they were at this pizza place called Dalla Pizza where
Uh-huh.
like they had partied or and got to knocked out, and the pizza here like looks really good. It's
Hmm.
I like the little cinematics where you see the team just sitting down and eating and talking to sort of progress the story. Just little things like that just make it for a nice experience.
Yeah, I think it's cool with the Suicide Squad because like Batman or Superman, like if we play with a game with them, it's got to be serious because it's Batman and Superman. They need to save people. I think it's cool with Suicide Squad. They're just villains. Like they don't give a so so like when like you go to save in the game, it's like they go get pizza or they around in a like batting cage, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool just seeing them like throw like like the head of like one of the Brainiac soldiers and they're just like trying to hit a home run with that like it's pretty dope.
Yeah, it feels very Grand Theft Auto in some ways.
Yeah.
Like you could just go to like the batting cages or go to the roller skate rink. Like if you're
Hmm.
just walking around between missions. The other heroes that we see who are brainwashed are John Stewart Green Lantern,
Hmm.
and we also see the Flash, and this is like Barry Allen as the Flash, and he's sort of taunting them, be like, "You guys think you can be heroes?" type of
Hmm.
thing. And I'm trying to remember if there are like any other heroes there. But
You have Hot Girl came into the game.
oh yeah, Hawk Girl was a nice
Uh-huh.
addition. Like you kind of don't expect it, even though like she was like such a huge part of the Justice League animated series. Like
Uh-huh.
I feel like she hasn't been featured as much in some other things as of late. So it was
Yeah.
yeah.
It's super cool. I think it was very reminiscent of the Justice League cartoons too, because that's one thing I remember watching a lot as a kid, those cartoons. So and I don't really see Hot Girl outside of that cartoon all that much, so it was cool. Even though you have to like fight her and try to kill her,
Yeah.
it was dope seeing her.
Yeah, one thing that it took me a while to realize, I had to like go back and listen, but the theme song that they do when like the evil Justice League show up is kind
Hmm.
of a twisted version of the animated series intro theme. You know,
Hmm.
the intro theme for the show is like do 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 do, and here they like make it more twisted, have it be like
Hmm.
and try to make it sound more sinister. I'm probably not making it sound as great as it actually sounded, but
Okay, like
I,
imagine Stevens humming, but like with heavy metal guitars.
yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of great rock and metal music throughout this game, and it fits the vibe of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Like I would totally like go try and find the soundtrack somewhere.
It's a nice change of pace from the Arkham games because in those games you're in Gotham and it's a very dark looking aesthetic. Here in Metropolis we get more daytime stuff, and it's yeah, like I don't know if we've had any Metropolis based game in recent years other than maybe Injustice, which I've never played. So again, like they do a good job making some nice changes in the type of story while also making it feel like it's part of that same Arkham verse, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, the Arkham series was always like a lot darker and broodier. Like it's Batman, so
Yeah.
it's always like you're always playing around like night, but it was fun to play around in Metropolis because it's more like day, evening and this. So it was a nice change of pace, and it's really cool to see Rocksteady like be able to like essentially do what they do really well, but like give it a different formula with the Suicide Squad because the Batman game that recently came out with the Robin and Batgirl
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights, yeah. I haven't gotten a chance to play that one yet, but it's cool to get like another one of those and then also like get the Suicide Squad version with it too, with this game coming out. So it's like we're like double dipping with
Yeah.
the DC beat 'em up games.
Yeah, because Batman is my favorite superhero, but
Hmm.
I know that there are so many Batman stories and people want to like we need more exposure to some of these other characters. Like I know that Batman and is Superman make all the money, but you got to like throw in like those more obscure characters and just have a bit more fun.
Dude, a Teen Titans game. in this style. That'd be pretty sick.
Wait, so like would this be like 2003 animated Teen Titans, like sort of that tone, or what are you thinking like more mature like type of thing?
I think because a lot of the games tend to be like the more mature side. I think it'd be kind of like that. But like I wouldn't mind them adding a little humor like the
Right.
T cartoon show, like the original 2003 show, since it was like a kid show, so it was very lighthearted, but like toning it down, making it a little more fun.
The animated Teen Titans movies from the last several years are pretty good. Like they're more mature,
Mhm.
and Young Justice is basically a Teen Titans show in all but name, and that's like one of my favorite shows ever.
That's
Um,
kind of the tone that I would assume that they would go with, was like the Young Justice type tone, where it's not like the like grittiest show, but like it's definitely like a little more mature than like
yeah.
like the anime inspired goofy Teen Titans.
Yeah, like there are moments of drama, but they also have some nice lighthearted humor every now and then.
Hmm.
But we also get Wonder Woman in this game, and when this,
Yeah,
yeah, what'd you think of what that was like when this you're playing as a Suicide Squad and you come across her?
I thought she was gonna kill us, kill the characters, but when she came across, like you could see the fear in their faces. But turns out Wonder Woman wasn't brainwashed, and she is able to help you out throughout the game, which is dope.
Yeah.
Because you have to take on Superman, you have to take on the Green Lantern, the Flash. Like, oh, we need some help because usually the villains in DC aren't the most powerful unless it's like, I don't know, I feel like Superman coming in, not Superman, like the villains, like Zod, is that his name?
Oh yeah,
Where
Zod.
Zod, like, it feels like a lot of the villains tend to be a little more grounded. Like King Shark, Harley Quinn, they're not like super. So you got your big dudes, but it was it was cool to have like team up moments like Harley Quinn with her baseball bat just like beating the crap out of the Brainiac soldiers, and then Wonder Woman coming in and using her whip and like throwing them around and stuff. Like it was a tight moment in the gameplay.
Yeah, like you'd have Harley with her bat, and Wonder Woman would get the lasso and it sort of like get it to swing the bat as well as Harley. So it's like Harley is spinning in a circle like around her, and she gets thrown at the enemy. You get to like it does like this slow mo thing where you like get to like hit the soldiers with a bat, and it's like
Hmm.
so satisfying. I do also kind of wonder if maybe the choice to have Wonder Woman be the one who's not brainwashed might have been influenced by some of the recent films, because for a time, Batman versus Superman wasn't well received, but Wonder Woman's movie got like a lot of positive reception. So I kind of wonder if maybe while this game was being developed, they sort of had all that in mind and were like, yeah, let's make Wonder Woman the one who like gets her time as the hero in this.
Yeah, I think they really tried to capitalize on like uh Wonder Woman's growing popularity. And I will say, like rewatching the first Wonder Woman movie, I was like, Wonder Woman's awesome. She's
Yeah.
she's cool. Like I liked Wonder Woman already. But I
Yeah.
think from what I remember in the cartoon, she was always like very stoic, like very like no nonsense. So the portrayal in the movies, having her lighter sides too, like her getting excited seeing babies and stuff, like I was like, all right, Wonder Woman's cool, I like her because she's still badass.
Yeah, for sure. And, like she's such an icon, and as like she's part of the DC Trinity,
Uh-huh.
but it's still like ridiculous how she only had one live action series in the 70s, whereas Superman had like I don't know, like five or six live action
Mm-hmm.
series like since the 50s or so.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like there's been an imbalance, but they're steadily like finally trying to bridge that gap, so to speak.
Yeah, I think DC actually has a lot of cool like woman characters too.
Yeah.
That it would be cool to see like more games with. Like Injustice has a bunch of them too, but like we got Wonder Woman, we got Harley Quinn. Black Canary's always been cool. I remember when they showed her in Injustice, I was like, I like her. Like,
Yeah.
and there was like another one I'm trying to remember. Oh, like Raven. Raven's always like anytime that they have like the brooding, like kind of like witch character.
Yeah. Having Wonder Woman in the mix definitely added something to this game.
Yeah.
And you also get like that back and forth between the Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman when they're talking
Hmm.
about like what it means to be a hero and to do good. And like some of the Suicide Squad members say they prefer to get like down and dirty in terms of how they get stuff done.
Hmm.
And then Harley looks at Captain Boomerang and is like, okay, Boomer. And it's like, oh, okay, they
Hmm.
had to throw in that little pop culture thing that you either love it or you hate hearing it, I guess.
Yeah. It was a little cheesy to me, but I'm like, okay, well, at least they're just like kind of messing around. Like they're not trying to make this too serious. If this was like a super serious like game with the storyline, I'd probably not be as in it. I mean, you at like a concert and you
Yeah.
have like just the heavy metal blaring guitars like just blasting while you're just killing hordes of like soldiers. It was fun. Like you're not gonna get this from an Arkham Asylum game, where it's like
Right.
super super gritty, super like psychological for Batman. Like they're like, nah, we're gonna get crazy with this. And I loved it.
Right, because in some Batman stories, you can get really silly. Like, there's the Adam West stuff, there's the Brave and the
Hmm.
Bold cartoon, like
Hmm.
Silver Age inspired. But with the Arkham games, they do tend to try to lean more on the serious side, even though you have characters like the Joker and Harley Quinn throwing in some silly stuff here and there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, a concert is definitely very unique for this game, and also you get to have a lot of fun. It was like the Suicide Squad have to like play instruments at this point because like they hack into like the PA system and figure, oh, like if we do this, we can stop uh these soldiers who are like in the crowd like with this frequency. And it's basically you get like a tutorial and it's like playing a rock band again. So
Yeah.
it's like there's so much going for this game.
There was like a
um
lot of little mini games like that I had like a ton of fun with.
So at this concert, what'd you think of the choices of instruments that they gave each of the characters?
I think it was pretty fun. They gave like Harley Quinn like the bass, and you can just use them to smack around people.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I thought it was funny that they're like, okay, King Shark gets like the flute, like just like some little ass, like, and it's like so small for his like body and hand. So it was fun.
Yeah, he was like, I'm a shark. I don't have experience with blowholes.
Yeah, it's it was like super. Like I said, they got real stupid with this game, but
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. Like it was just a ton of goofing off. So I enjoy stuff that doesn't take itself seriously.
Yeah, and Captain Boomerang had like a little guitar that he was able to like use as a boomerang type of
Hmm.
thing. And Deadshot, he was on drums and he was like hitting every note like right on the beat. He kept saying the thing he always says, which is
Hmm.
I never miss.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, the whole team groans and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they also meet up with the Penguin because they think he
Hmm.
has info on like where Brainiac is heading. And it's interesting how Penguin has had kind of a little renaissance in recent years, like with the Batman and his own show, and
Hmm.
he was in Gotham Knights, and now here they're like trying to like track him down and to like tase him or whatever to like get him to talk and whatnot.
He was not someone that I expected to become like the huge Batman villain. I thought it would have been someone more like Bane, I think, because of the last of the Dark Knight trilogy, focusing on him. And I think people just tend to gravitate towards like those more badass looking characters. So it was fun seeing Penguin. I didn't even know how much stuff he's in recently, but like I have noticed seeing him a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, there's even the Gotham TV show, which, I mean, he was like a regular on that. And it makes sense because Penguin is kind of a staple of Batman villains. Bane is kind of, I say recent, even though it's like 30 years ago, but like relatively more recent.
Mm.
But I love how the Dark Knight Rises sort of influenced the Harley Quinn TV show portrayal of him, and that he looks like his comic book version, all big and with a venom and stuff, but he sounds ridiculous. Like Tom Hardy's Bane is like, "Oh, I'm Bane." Like I just love that carried over into that cartoon.
I love looking back on the old Dark Knight series. I have not seen the new Batman, so I can't really say how it has been. And but it's kind of funny how like we love, especially like Dark Knight, the middle, the one with Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Um, it's I love looking back on it and seeing how ridiculous they decided to give Batman like the grovelly voice like this, and then like Bane's like really high pitched like mask voice.
Yeah.
You look back on it, and back at that time we're like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, at that time, like when The Dark Knight came out, I was like, yeah, Batman's got to be dark and gritty. This is my type of Batman.
Uh-huh.
I ain't gonna check out that silly looking cartoon, Batman the Brave and the Bold. Well,
Mm-hmm.
when really like watching that cartoon a few years ago, I was like, wow, I've actually been really missing out on this. This is ridiculous but fun. It's like Batman is like the serious guy in this ridiculous universe, or he's surrounded by ridiculous people, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The Penguin eventually like gives them the answer of like where Brainiac is, and he says like there's a cabin, and it's kind of an odd choice like for a secret lair type of thing. Like they find it, and basically his ship is like underground and connected to it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what'd you think of this whole sequence?
I thought it was pretty cool. I think it was like real silly. I think that's the defining word of this game, silly. But it was pretty cool to get there. The Brainiac boss fight, because this is getting closer to the end of the game. I think that was one of the best boss fights because like he gets Superman just to come and shield him because that's his greatest asset, you know. So
Yeah.
and throughout the whole game, like you kind of just each level you're playing as one of the characters, but the Superman boss fight where like you have to like each like play as each one, like you use like Harley or Deadshot and like Captain Boomerang to like try to like weaken Superman, so like he's like you can get him down, and then you just like use King Shark to come in and like do the big damage. Like that was pretty dope. It's up there with like the fight with Mr. Freeze. I don't know if you ever got that far into Arkham City. The Mr. Freeze boss battle is one of the best boss battles.
Yeah, it's like this sequence when they're like gathering information about how the mind control works, and they find out that, well, because at first they think maybe Brainiac has like manipulated the satellites, but then it turns out, oh, he's created these artificial mosquitoes that injected some of the heroes with this thing that gets to their brain and controls
Hmm.
them, and it's like they have to like figure out how to cure them, and so like you basically have to fight through some more of Brainiac soldiers and get the
Hmm.
data about like how to do that. Yeah, like you said, the fight, like when you're fighting Superman, it's he really is terrifying in this game. And they you said like he's basically Brainiac's greatest asset, 'cause,
Uh,
like that's what Brainiac says. And then Amanda Waller, like you hear her like on the, because on the headset she's like, damn, I miss when Superman was America's asset. And it's like, oh, they tried to throw in a sly like Avengers Endgame reference.
yeah.
The boss fight, like this was, I feel like every character gets their moment, you know, like each
Uh-huh.
like Wonder Woman as well, and she like has like the turmoil of like I'm fighting my friends, but I have to like
Uh-huh.
stop them and like try to like save them and whatnot. What'd you think of where it went from there?
That this is the part where like it gets like real brutal because you know you're trying to fight Superman and all that, and like it's great having Wonder Woman help you because like you have like this superhuman being like fighting alongside you, even though like all the villains are pretty super, but I mean it's Wonder Woman. So
Yeah.
like at the end of the boss battle when like you beat the shit out of Superman, you're like, okay, yeah, we got it. I thought it was like the end of the game, like because we're right at Brainiac. You're fighting Superman, and then like Wonder Woman comes in and like tries to beat the shit out of Superman, like right at the end of it, and then like Superman uses her beams and like gets her. So she's like gravely injured, and it's just like she's just lying there, and it's like you guys got the like and like Brainiac and Superman escape. And it's like you guys have to go after him, and it's like, no, why'd you give me Wonder Woman to help me, and then you're just gonna take her away from me? I'm all sad.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this felt like the reverse of Batman v Superman, where she
Yeah.
comes in toward the end, like coming in clutch to save the
Uh-huh.
day. But here it's like they take her off the board like right before the end, and it's like
Yeah.
the team has to like do the rest of this.
Uh-huh.
And but we get like a really nice introspective moment from Harley where she thinks about and talks about verbally about how she was a different person when she was under the Joker's thumb, but now that she doesn't have him to worry about, like she's
Mhm.
past him, like she can make her own path and whatnot. And she basically is trying to, like, throughout this game, she's pretty silly, but here she's trying to be inspirational and really
Mhm.
get the team's spirits up. Because some of them are just like, you know what, let's just let Amanda Waller blow us up with the
Mhm.
thing, with the chip in her heads. Like, they're just ready to give up. But Harley manages to motivate them. It's like that inspiration, cheesy ass inspiration
Yeah.
moment.
I think she was my favorite character in the game, like story-wise. I think King Shark had like my favorite gameplay out of
Yeah.
the four characters, but Harley Quinn, like it's just cool seeing a lot of the Harley. It's interesting to see her come from like Joker's sidekick, which I think she would debuted in the 90s Batman cartoon, correct?
Yeah,
Like
she became a breakout character in that.
yeah.
The episode Harley's Holiday where she's declared sane and released from Arkham and she's trying to be a normal person, but obviously she's eccentric and then she thinks everyone's after her and she has a bad day and all the crime and all the people it all escalates pretty much like a Grand Theft Auto game because by the end she has like a tank going after her and it's that episode is so good, but it gets so human at the end when she and Batman have this like heartfelt talk about like what it's like to have a bad day type of thing.
It's really cool to see the growth of this character because I think it seems like her origins is just to be a goofy sidekick to Joker, and like now she's one of the most, I would say, most complex characters in the DC universe. So
Yeah.
I think they did her really well in this game. So yeah, she was definitely like my favorite in character. But I mean, I love chopping heads with King Shark. So like the
Yeah.
gameplay with King Shark, like anytime I got to play King Shark, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, like in this game you can get those complex moments, but you can also have just quick dumb fun
hmm
type of thing. That's what makes this game so great.
hmm
They finally go after Brainiac, and again, like each team member like has their moment. Like there's a
Yeah.
like Boomerang just it's basically like he teleports when he throws the thing, right? It's
hmm
just like it felt more satisfying playing as him here than ever before. I don't know
hmm
if like they made the gameplay smoother for him as it progresses or what, but it's like by that point I was like, yeah, I got the handle of this character, and it's just like super hype, like trying to switching between the characters, like being Deadshot, like shooting at the enemy and being they're really working as a team at this point.
Yeah, and it was like pretty cool because we're getting to the end of the game, and I guess Superman and Brainiac, they're like, all right, we need to get out of here. So they like fly over to this satellite up in in space. And so Amanda Waller's like, it's time to go chase them over to the satellite. And like you just see the cutscene where they just put them all on this rocket ship and they just start playing that David Bowie song, the
Uh, Life on
ground
Mars
control. Yeah, that
or
one.
Space Oddity, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, ground control to Major Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice for this. Like
Uh-huh.
you could totally imagine that if this had been the third Suicide Squad movie, you could totally imagine that song being in here.
Mm-hmm.
So it really fit that scene, but it also didn't feel as dumb as like Fast and Furious, where it was taking them into space. But like it fits here because it's DC.
Uh-huh.
Characters have gone into space and whatnot. Like they're fighting an alien for Pete's sake. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just having this space battle type of thing. I was not expecting this. Like I thought it would be more grounded, all taking place in Metropolis, but this was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it was fun going to the satellite, like landing on there, and then like the lower gravity situation on the satellite, just fighting Superman.
Yeah, change the gameplay
Uh-huh.
a bit. Like with Boomerang, you have to like figure out like what's the correct way to do it up here type of thing.
Which was cool because then like with Boomerang, like you could just start like throwing the boomerang like near the walls, and then he could just like run on the wall to
Yeah.
like try and get to Superman. It was pretty good. Like I don't think this boss battle nearly got the same height as like the cabin part where like you try to get to them the first time. But it was a fun way to end the game.
Yeah, like when they finally managed to defeat Brainiac and
Uh-huh.
get the mind control, basically he has like a console where it can deactivate the mosquito things that he put in the
Yeah,
heroes.
the
And
little hive mind robots.
yeah, and so once that's deactivated, you get Superman coming in clutch, being all
Uh-huh.
heroic and just beating the hell out of Brainiac,
Brainiac,
and,
yeah.
and Green Lantern and Hawk Girl and all Flash and the others are just like coming in at each game there. For this like very few minutes, you get to play as these heroes, and it's just like, oh man, like this is so hype. I want to play this
Hmm.
game now.
Yeah. But what did you think of the ending where it's just like because they're like, all right, well now the Suicide Squad has to go back to jail, but these dudes got out of there without anyone knowing. So they're just roaming around now with the bombs in their heads. So Amanda Weller could just blow them up at any time, but then you find out like they're too far from the sensors for the to activate the bombs. So like they made their like secret escape.
Yeah, and Amanda Waller is sort of kicking herself, being like, "Man, we should have designed these things better."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was because with the Suicide Squad, you kind of do expect them to just go back to prison or
Uh-huh.
whatever, but now it's like, where do they go from here? Are they just road tripping? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are they gonna try fighting other super beings and other places? Like,
Mm-hmm.
they could go pretty much anywhere from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm assuming that they're just gonna catch them at some point because I'm sure the Rocksteady wants to make a Suicide Squad 2. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, like Wonder Woman, like you see her again and she's recovered and she's
mhm.
like, I'm sure this isn't the last we've seen of them. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, you got that.
Uh-huh. I thought it was pretty cool. I expected them to go back to jail or maybe like here's your next mission, but uh I mean if they're gonna go so far as to save the world because the Justice League were under control, like I feel like they deserve the good ending, you know?
Yeah, like if you're fighting an evil Justice League and you like get beaten by them and you
Hmm.
survive and defeat them in the end, it's like just let them go. Oh.
Pretty much. Yeah, you know, they're psycho menaces that could probably kill people, but like
I mean,
they deserve
yeah, I mean, I guess it helps that their crimes could be worse.
Uh-huh.
But so there's still like that morally gray area, I
Yeah.
guess. But Yeah, like I'm very curious to see what like I wouldn't put it past them to put out another Suicide Squad game at some
Uh-huh.
point in the future because with all the positive reception, it's like how could they not?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I guess we could go into final thoughts and score out of 10 and
Hmm.
of measurement for that score. So, what are your final thoughts, score out of 10 for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Marco?
The 9.5 dyed hairs, dyed goofy haircuts out of 10.
Okay.
Because this game was fun as hell. Like I really liked how over the top that it got. I really liked the gameplay because it was very simple to get into, simple to switch between the characters, and like it has one of those like styles of gameplay where like just pressing a couple buttons and like your character does all these badass moves, like just taking out like swarms of enemies, like the Spider-Man and the Batman type games. Like I'm always into that. So the story was great. The goofy nature of it was great. The gameplay was great. I have very little complaints.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna match that score. Like, I want to give this a 10, but I still think there is a little bit of room for improvement. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's near perfect, but it's like I feel like there might be other games I'd give like a 10 score, but this is really high up there. It's a 9.5 out of 10.
Hmm.
Shark teeth to me. So yeah, it's really fun. It's so satisfying to play as these characters. Yeah, give me more of this type of gameplay. It's just so fun, and I love how the way that they expanded the world of the Arkhamverse beyond just Gotham. So it's really refreshing and nice. Another win for DC, which
Yeah.
is nice.
I
Yeah.
will say, I know a lot of people are like Marvel usually like wipes the floor with DC when it comes to movies, but I think the DC games generally tend to like be like a lot better in comparison to most of the Marvel games that come out. So
Right, yeah,
I
because Marvel Ultimate Alliance is what got me into Marvel. I had fun with that.
uh-huh.
I've heard the Spider-Man game is really good, but I still have yet to play it or watch it or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, yeah, I don't really hear much about people praising Marvel games if they even come out frequently. I know there's like some Iron Man game like a couple years ago, and there's like an Avengers game like sometime within the last couple years, but I don't really hear as much praise for those as for like the Arkham games or Gotham Knights or this game, Kill the Justice League.
Hmm.
So I think people generally agree with that DC does wipe the floor when it comes to video games.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I think this one's just continuing the narrative.
yeah. All right. So before we sign off, something that a little segment I've been including with these October episodes is each of us will give some like spooky season recommendations. It can
Hmm.
be like movies, shows, games, or stuff to read, whatever you think people should like check out for like the spooky season. And I don't really have a number limit, so like throw out as many as you can like you feel like sharing right now, I guess.
Oh, okay, sweet. So, spooky season recommendations. When it comes to video games, I really love the Resident Evil series. They had just announced a Resident Evil 4 remake, and Resident Evil 4 is one of those games where like I could just go back and play whenever because and if you're worried about like super scary, don't worry. It's not, because like you're such a badass in Resident Evil 4 that like you just take on swarms of these infected like villagers in like this like remote area in Spain. Their heads, like when you shoot them, like they pop and they turn into like giant centipede creatures and stuff too. But you're just like you suplexing
Yeah.
these these little demonic infected villagers, and you're just jumping off walls and stuff, and like it's got some of the most fun gameplay. I totally recommend that. I'd recommend the older Resident Evil games too. And what else? Spooky movies. I don't think I watch too many when it comes to horror movies, but like Nightmare Before Christmas is always a good one to
Yeah.
go and watch. That's always like a go-to every year for me. So if you have yet, I don't know how, but if you have yet to seen that movie, I would recommend that one too. And yeah, I think that's going to be my recommendations.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas is both my favorite Halloween movie and my favorite Christmas movie. Yeah, it's both. Like there's no debate really. It's just
Uh-huh.
both. Yeah, and I think for my recs for this episode, the Arkham games are pretty much like already a given, I guess. So apart from just like Batman media in general. In terms of video games, I'm gonna recommend like if anyone has a way to play these. I remember, the Sly Cooper games. The first game came out 20 years ago, recently at its anniversary. And it still has such a nice place in my heart. I remember the second game, Sly 2 Band of Thieves, got really spooky when you're in this one area where the
Hmm.
Contessa, who's like the spider lady, has control, and there's like, it's really creepy, and I still have vivid memories of how spooky and scary it felt just walking around that area where it's like super dark and stuff. So if anyone has access to that, play it or maybe even watch gameplay of it. Also recommend, this one's kind of a classic on Jackbox Games, a Trivia Murder Party.
Oh,
It's
yes.
Yeah, it's a nice combination of horror and comedy, I guess, and it's
Mhm.
just a fun game to play with friends. Yeah, I guess that'll be my Rex for this episode. Thanks for joining me again, Marco. Do you have like anything else you'd like to plug or recommend before we head off?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel called Oddmark TV where I'll play a bunch of games. If you like spooky, I have a series where I play horror games, and anytime I get scared, I punish myself. So, if you want to see me eat like weird foods or pop balloons above my head that are filled with like just anything from like ranch to like to just um soda. Yeah, I got a couple of good series. I would recommend um my Fears to Fathom one and my Poppy Playtime videos because I think I did some fun punishments on those. And yeah, like I'll do a lot of like either funny game reviews or just funny gaming type sketches whenever. So go check it out. And yeah, that's all I have to plug myself.
Okay, yeah, the doll in Poppy Playtime is pretty creepy.
Horrifying.
Yeah. All right. So, and I'll include links to that in the show notes as usual.
uh
As for my plugs, people can find my book, Lemons Will Like Rain, on Amazon. That's a spooky book. You can also go to stevenshinder.com for more info on that. The follow up book, Trespassing Through Visages, will come out soon. I just gotta get some life stuff taken care of first. People can also follow me at Steven Shinder on Instagram and Twitter, Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook. You can email delayed replay at delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on ranch, just because you mentioned it just now, and I have that on my brain now. Kind of hungry now. And and you can also find me and with my dad on our vlog/podcast Yesshift, where we talk about the band Yes and its members and people who've worked with them. We've even interviewed a few members, and I think by the time this comes out, there will be a few interviews out already, even with people who've worked with Yes members. So yeah, I'll include links to those. You can find it on Facebook, YouTube, all the major podcast audio platforms. Hey, this is future Steven popping in after the fact. Just want to put in one last plug for Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast. You might remember my friends Dylan and Keon. They've been on Delayed Replay before, and they're ending Inevitable as well as their other show in the near future, Trust Your Doctor, a Doctor Who podcast. So I was on the final Inevitable episode talking about the final Jerry Anderson's UFO episode titled The Long Sleep. It was a fun conversation. So yeah, check out their whole back catalog at decorativevegetable.com. It's been quite an era of podcasting that they've done, just lots of great coverage. So yeah, check out Inevitable, Trust Your Doctors, Zenith, which is a Book 7 podcast, and Triple Play, a movie trilogy podcast. Okay, back to the closing of this episode. Yeah, so listeners, stay tuned. One episode per week for the rest of this year as a way of commemorating surpassing 100 episodes recently. And the next episode, I think, is going to be about Evil Dead Rise. So, yeah, tune in next time. And without further delay, have a good day.